Hello everyone, this is Brian Davis and welcome to my home recording studio. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I'm here to speak about a topic that I feel sometimes may be overlooked in the audio engineering community. This is the expander gate. Now I know some of you may be thinking after I mention the expander gate, what's so important about the expander gate? To me, I think the expander gate is very crucial in gaining clarity in the engineer's mix, to which we all want. What made me feel this way even more is a meeting that I had with Professor Boyd down at Tri-C. I normally go and meet with Professor Hartzell, who is my Capstone instructor, to talk about Capstone. And right next to his office is Professor Boyd's office, to which I always stop in and talk to him about engineering topics as well. So on this day, Professor Boyd, we were conversating, and he happened to ask me, could he open up my mix so he can maybe find things that I can improve upon to help my mix get better. And of course I said yeah, because I'm always looking for tips to help me improve. And I knew that he would find things that I can improve upon. So that was excellent for me. So to keep a long story short, he ended up opening up my mix. And one of the things that he seen was the expander gate. And he noticed that my expander gate was not sidechain. And he asked me, why isn't it sidechain? And honestly, I thought to myself, well, I don't know. So from that point, he actually showed me why it should be sidechain and how I should sidechain it to make my mix sound better. And out of this meeting, I basically got that every time that you use the expander gate, you should always sidechain. And this will help the expander gate work even better than it does without sidechaining it. So let's get started here. Before we go any further, I felt it was the need for me to explain the controls of an expander gate. So I went online, did a little research, found this article that does a great job in explaining the controls on the expander. Okay? So before we go any further, once again, I'd like you to compare the expander gate to a swing gate. And it basically is almost the same thing. You can kind of picture it that way. And you'll see why as we go further. In this article, they explain the expanders as basically the opposite to compressors. So instead of reducing the dynamic range, they increase it. So by that they mean the expander basically expands. To me, an expander works in two different ways. It expands a portion of a signal and it attenuates another portion of the signal. So one portion of the signal is being expanded while another portion of the signal is being attenuated. Okay? Which is opposite of a compressor. Okay? The threshold. This is the level that incoming audio signal needs to reach for the expander to stop having an effect. Okay? So basically what I would just describe the threshold as is the point at which the expander gate starts to work. Okay? Next we have the ratio. The ratio, as they describe, they say, that it describes how much the expander will increase the dynamic range when it is effect. So the ratio is basically, in my own words, how quickly does the expander gate works. Okay? Next we'll go to the range. The range, they say, this determines how far below the threshold the expander continues to work. So the range is basically, as I stated, an expander works in two different ways. It expands a portion of the signal, which lets a portion of the signal go through that swinging gate, as I described, and it attenuates another portion of the signal that is below a certain dB, which closes. Basically, that swinging gate is closing. Okay? So if you have, let's say, a certain signal below a certain dB, the range can determine how quiet you can get that certain portion of the signal, okay? So it's basically the volume knob. It's like turning down that portion of the signal, okay? Next we have the attack. An attack, as they describe here, this sets how quickly the expander stops having an effect after the level crosses above the threshold. So the attack is basically how quick the expander gate starts to work, which is opposite, which is not the same as the ratio, which is how quickly it's working. This is how quick the attack is, how quickly the expander gate starts to work. The hold. The hold, they state here, this sets a time delay before the expander starts to work after the level gates above the threshold. Excuse me, after the level goes above the threshold. So the hold is basically when that swing gate is opening up, it can stay open for a little bit. So it's like when that swing gate is open all the way up, how long does it stay open before it releases, which is our next step here, our next control. As they state, this sets how quickly the expander gate starts to reduce the gain after the audio signal level drops below the threshold. So once that gate opens up and it's holding, how quickly does it take that gate to close back to its normal state? Okay? And that's the release. Here they talk about gates as well, and gates are indeed different from an expander. Gates completely attenuate a certain portion of the signal. This is good for things like guitar amps. You know how you have that little humming buzz when you're not playing the guitar. This can actually attenuate out that whole noise completely, which is awesome. Okay? So without further ado, let's get to a mix that I have here. And I'll show you some things that I've done with the expander gate on my own mix. Okay? Let's get to it. Alright, let's see what we have here. Right now I have a session open that is actually a project that I've been working with during my capstone semester. It's the band Scenic Route, and the song is called Same Old Ghost. Right now I have into view the drum portion of this session. This is basically the drum kit is what I want to show you how I would use the expander gate. And I basically chose the drum section because this is basically the instrument where the most bleed will occur. So by that I mean sometimes, well, most of the time or all of the time, some bleed from other instruments will get into other instruments of the drum kit. So the kick drum will have the cymbal bleed, maybe the snare bleed in it, and the snare may have the cymbal bleed and the kick bleed within the mic. And so that's basically where you would get most of your bleed within a mix. So I wanted to show you that on this drum kit. Right now I have some of the expanders bypass that I have already set prior to making this video. And so what I will do is I'll use this plug-in here, and I'll get an expander gate here, and it's already set to factory default. So now we have a fresh expander gate on the first instrument within the drum kit. Okay, so now let's bypass this for now, and let's hear everything as a whole right now. Let me let you hear what we're working with so far. Okay, sounds pretty decent. All right, so now let's hear that drum kit by itself. I'm going to solo the drum bus, and let's play that drum kit by itself. Alright, sounds pretty cool. So as I stated, let's start off with the kick in, which is the first instrument within the drum tracks. So I'll mute everything thus far. Let's mute everything within the drum kit that I'm using thus far. Bam. So now I'm starting off with the kick in here. I just initiated the expander plugin on the kick-in track, and it's set at factory default, which means it's not set yet, basically. So what I'll do here is I'll play the kick-in. Since it's on bypass, you don't hear this expander working. Let's take it out of bypass so we can hear it working. And as you see, the controls are not set ideal for what we want. Kick is being cut off, not sounding good at all. So what we'll do here from this point, and this is what inspired me to do this video, and this is basically, as I stated, what Boy had talked about in our meeting, and it's regarding this portion here of the expander gate, and this is the sidechain portion, okay? And what I want you to realize out of this is that every time you use the expander gate, this section of the expander gate should always be used, every time, okay? And the information I'm giving you here is not so you can go out and, be the best mixing engineer ever. It's to create a pathway for you to get to that point, okay? So all of this is, all I can do is, point you to tell you how these controls work. And from there, you have to experiment yourself to, make it work to your taste for what project you're working with, okay? So before I begin anything, I first want to initiate my sidechain. And here we have certain controls on the sidechain. We have a high filter and a low filter. We have a button to where we can listen to what we're filtering out, and 2 activating buttons, which activates the filters. We can also initiate this button here, which will sidechain from another track, but we're not using that right now, so we're not going to initiate that button. What we will do is initiate the listen button so we can hear everything we're filtering out. And we use this filter so that when this expander is being opened, when the gate is being opened, it's only opening up to the kick drum, okay? So as I stated, the kick drum has a little bit of the cymbal bleed, and we don't want this gate to open up when the cymbals hit. We only want this gate to open up when the kick in is hitting, okay? And so what I can do with this filter here is filter out that cymbal bleed, and so that when this expander is being opened, it's only opening up to the kick, okay? So I can show you what I'm talking about here. And let's play the kick drum for a second. Let's play it. You can hear it. And you can also hear the cymbal bleed, okay? Let's filter out some of that cymbal bleed so that every time this gate opens up, it only opens up for the kick, okay? So I'll keep making this adjustment and listen as the cymbal bleed becomes quieter. Do you hear that? It's excellent, isn't it? And now that I adjusted my sidechain to, the frequencies where I want it to work, I'll go to my main controls, okay? Now these are the controls that I spoke about earlier, and to determine how these controls work, we'll take a look at our meter here. So by adjusting our controls, this meter will tell you basically what we're adjusting. As I stated earlier, ratio is how quickly the expander works. Let's play and see that control work. Let's show you here on the meter how this ratio works. So we'll play it. Okay. Actually, we'll take it out of listen mode, and we'll move our ratio to 100. And as you can see there, as the expander is working, it's working pretty fast right now. So it's opening up fast and it's closing pretty fast because I have my ratio adjusted to 100 to 1. So we'll basically want to smoothen that off a little bit by slowing the reaction of that expander, and we'll take it down to about 3.5. And as you can see, the meter looks a little bit smoother, has a little bit more swag to it, a little bit more natural looking instead of moving so quickly, So we'll adjust that. We'll keep that ratio to about 3.5 to 1. And so let's adjust our range right now. So our range, as I stated, our range will determine how much we are taking the bleed out of the track. So what I'm saying, when I go back to that cymbal bleed that's in this track, and all we want is the kick drum, This control right here is going to determine how much I'm turning that bleed down. How much am I turning the cymbal bleed down? So I'm going to adjust that to about 11 dB, so that sounds natural. Cutting things off by 80 dB, such as here. Turning things down by 80 dB can sound unnatural, very unnatural. And it's just a wide range for the expander to work, which means you can hear it a little bit more. So we'll take this down to about 11 dB, okay? 11 dB. So now we'll adjust our attack to much quicker because we want this expander to open at the beginning of the kick transient, okay? So we'll adjust that down. So we want this to react pretty quick, okay? And we'll also adjust the release. So the release I will use so that the expander is so that I'm not closing the transient off, the kick transient off, but also want it to close just in time so I'm not adding bleed from the cymbals. So I wanted to cut the kick drum off without just chopping it off so it sounds natural. But also I want to do that, it's a fine line, so I also want to do that so I'm not adding bleed from the other instruments as well, okay? So it's a thin line. I won't adjust my hold because I can basically get what I get with the release, I can do with the hold and vice versa. So I'll just leave the hold the same and I'll just adjust my release. So we'll give it a play real quick. And I'll go in a little bit more. So my gate is closing a little bit quicker, which is allowing some of that bleed, not allowing some of the bleed through, and it's not being chopped off very quickly. So I'm liking the sound of that. Just the kick. Okay, now let's adjust this threshold. And everything below this meter, this marker here, everything below this here is being attenuated by 11 dB. Okay, that's what this marker is telling us. Okay, so let's adjust this threshold. And as you can see here, the kick is way up here on the meter. So basically everything below where the kick is hitting is bleed. So we'll adjust that as much as we can to get rid of the bleed. Okay, let's adjust. Okay. Okay. I'm liking the way that sounds. Let's bypass that just to show you how much of the bleed we've taken out. See that? Unbypass. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing. Unbypass. Bypass. This here is your way to clarity, your pathway to clarity as an audio engineer. By eliminating bleed from other tracks, which basically allows other tracks to poke through the mix and they're not competing with other things. It's more pure. This is your pathway to clearness. Okay? So what I'll do here is, as I stated earlier, I've already adjusted some controls on expander gate prior to this session, opening up this video. So now what I'll do is I'll listen to the whole mix without any expanders on the drum kit. So what we'll do here is we'll unmute everything and we'll play the whole mix without the expanders activated on the drum kit. Let's play it. Alright, now let's unbypass these expander gates. Okay, let's play it. Okay, sorry about that. Cut out on me, but you get the idea there. I think, in my opinion, I think the expanders work pretty well. When I unbypassed the expanders, I heard the other instruments in the mix poke out a little bit more. Also heard the tightness of the drum kit. It got a little bit tighter to me. Okay, so some may think that there was just a subtle adjustment of taking the bleed out of the kick in microphone. And you're not going to be able to completely take bleed out because that's probably humanly impossible. Okay? But if we take out a little bit by little bit, and then and some may say subtle, if we take out a subtle amount of bleed on each track, that adds to a large sum. If you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? So if you add all the subtleties of, getting rid of bleed and all of the drum kit tracks, then that adds up to a big portion of bleed being taken out of that kit. You know? So, what I want you to get out of this video is to always use your side chains. Please use your side chains. This actually helps the expander works its best. Okay? The expander is not going to work its best without activating the side chains. Okay? That's just the way it is. Alright everyone, I'd like to thank you for tuning in and watching my video. I hope that this video was valuable to you. I hope that it gave you enough knowledge to go out there and help make your mix a better mix. Appreciate you guys for looking. As I stated, I just hope all you guys succeed. Hope all you guys can reach the potential that you want to reach. And I wish the best for you. Okay? Thank you and have a great day. Peace.